Chapter 9. Think my sister will like you? Remember that assignment in Tulum? Ryan asked, ducking Sophie's jab. Those fools didn't stand a chance against us. Fists connected with their boxing gloves, sounding like gunshots in the Wilders' home gym. They were deep in their daily sweat session, glistening under the lights as they put each other through their paces. Sophie launched a roundhouse kick that Ryan barely blocked. You mean the time you nearly blew our cover? By flirting with the curly-head bartender? Yes, I remember vividly. Hey, it got us the intel we needed, didn't it? Yeah, and almost got us killed in the process. But did you die, though? Ryan countered, sweeping Sophie's legs out from under her. Sophie hit the mat with a grunt, but quickly rolled back to her feet. They traded blows back and forth. Her special ops skills, mixed with Ryan's street-honed instincts, complemented each other. Pausing to catch their breath, Ryan noticed trouble on her wife's face. What's on your mind, babe? It's just, with our first counseling session later and Jordan's visit this weekend, I'm a little nervous about it all. Sophie played with the wraps on her hands. Why? You think your sister won't approve of your fine-ass, incredibly talented wife? More like I'm worried she'll see right through our cover story. Jordan's always been good at reading me. With an understanding nod, Ryan squeezed Sophie's shoulder gently. I feel you, but we got this, okay? We'll just stick to the script and show how you got me sprung. You make it sound so easy. That's because it is easy, Soph. Being with you and showing the world what you mean to me is the easy part in all of this. Her honesty and feelings resonated with Sophie, soothing her worries. She pulled her close, aligning their bodies perfectly like they were meant to be. Okay, that's enough sap for one morning. She kissed Ryan's lips. Let's see if you can handle this, Wilder. She hit Ryan with a quick combo, catching her sleeping. But Ryan wasn't about to let that slide. She snapped back into it, deflecting with the best she had. Before long, they found their tempo again, the outside noise fading as it became their private dance party. Two souls connecting, their mutual trust and chemistry growing stronger with every move. As the session wound down, Ryan had Sophie pinned against the wall, with their chests rising and falling. Sophie's eyes locked on the lips in front of her, her tongue wiping across her own. Ryan's grip on Sophie's wrists tightened an invitation to close the gap between them. She nipped at Ryan's bottom lip and took advantage of her parted mouth, deepening the kiss. Her hands found their way beneath Ryan's sports bra, lightly pinching the protruding nipples, calling out to her. Ryan broke the kiss to instead plant hot, open-mouthed kisses along Sophie's jaw and down her salty neck. Sophie threw her head back, eyes closed, giving her girl all the room she needed as she melted into the intoxicating feeling of Ryan's mouth on her skin. You know what's wild? Ryan asked as she pulled back and looked into Sophie's honey eyes, which could basically get her to do anything. I don't think we've properly christened this room yet. Care to help me find out if my ass will stick to the floor mats? Let's see. She hoisted Ryan up by her thick thighs in the air. Sophie, put me down. Eventually, she gently laid Ryan down on the mat, silently thanking Black Bat for 1, the soundproof walls, and 2, for pairing her with someone who matches her freak. Dr. Anissa Pierce's office, therapy session. Dr. Anissa Pierce greeted Ryan and Sophie with a friendly smile as they settled into the chairs of her office. I must say, I don't normally take on new clients mid-quarter, but with Julia's overwhelming referral, I couldn't resist. She speaks very highly of you both. Ryan and Sophie shared a look, fingers intertwining. We're grateful for the opportunity, Sophie said. Julia's been a great friend and colleague. Dr. Pierce nodded, jotting down a quick note. So tell me a bit about yourselves. How long have you two been together? Married just under 8 months now. but it feels like we've known each other forever. Ryan herself couldn't believe how much time had passed already. It felt just like yesterday when she was reading and rereading their forged marriage license in Luke's office again. Congratulations, that's wonderful. And what do you both do for a living? Sophie cleared her throat, moving in her seat. Well, we own a few meat plants. We're butchers, actually. Dr. Pierce's brows went up, her pen floating over the pad she was scribbling on. Butchers? That's interesting. Quite an unusual profession these days. Yeah, it's not your typical 9-to-5, but we love it. Keeps things exciting. Isn't that right, Sophie? Definitely, babe. Never a dull moment in the meat business, Dr. Pierce wrote on her notepad, throwing an inquisitive glance their way. I see. Well, I'm certainly intrigued to learn more about how working together in your meat affairs impacts your relationship dynamics. We just carve through challenges together, you know. There's no obstacle we can't chop down to size. Exactly. On the chopping block of life, we've always got each other's backs. As they delved into how their arranged marriage had shaped their professional dynamic, the scene dissolved into a memory of a recent mission. Flashback. The scorching desert sun was nearly suffocating Ryan and Sophie while they roamed through the barren landscape, machetes in hand. Their mission? Infiltrate a remote compound in the Patagonian desert where a notorious drug lord was hiding out and shut down his operation, which was also a front for illegal poaching and animal cruelty. As they neared close, the reek of rotting flesh attacked their nostrils. Ryan signaled for Sophie to circle around back while she took the front. Inside the ramshackle, she navigated through hanging carcasses, her weapon ready. She spotted their target, but before she could act, a beefy, tall man attacked from the shadows behind a large tree. She avoided his blade with her own. Hearing the noise, Sophie burst through, ready to assist. With a swift slice, she took out the guard trying to block her path. The drug lord, cornered and desperate, lashed out with his own axe. But Ryan and Sophie were too quick, their actions in sync from countless hours of training. He couldn't withstand their perfectly timed onslaught of blows as they skillfully tore him into pieces. Walking away, they wiped the blood from their faces and blades. With a frown, Ryan raked her fingers through her soft braids in frustration. If I can't get this nasty-ass blood out of my hair later, I swear to God. Sophie peeked over at her wife, noting that Ryan was worse off than she was. Blood spattered her face and matted her hair to her forehead, with sand in places she knew was uncomfortable. I got you, baby. She reached out to tuck a blood-soaked loose strand behind Ryan's ear. We'll get you cleaned up at the Oasis. I'll wash your hair, make you feel as good as new. Ryan leaned into the touch with a small, naughty smile. And a flashback. Back in the therapist's office, Ryan took a sip of the offered water. Let's just say in our line of work, we've had to get our hands dirty to get the job done. But so satisfying when we finally wrap up and come home to each other, Sophie added. Flashback. That night in their hideaway, makeshift house among the dunes, riding the high of their success, they barely made it through the front door before desire consumed them. They were all over each other, wet clothes from their bath flying, mouths craving the next kiss, fingers tracing every dip and curve. And flashback. Back in the therapist's office, Ryan and Sophie's eyes were locked tight, their chests moving up and down. They were still feeling the heat from that unforgettable night in Argentina a few weeks ago. The energy between them was stimulating, their bodies unconsciously inched closer, pulled together by that undeniable attraction that they finally were thrilled to express. Dr. Pierce, who had been writing notes, glanced up from her notepad. She took in the sight of the couple before her. It was as if they had forgotten where they were, lost in the heat of their shared memory. Newlyweds? She muttered to herself. Well, I must say, she cleared her throat, I've never known cutting up cows and pigs could be so sexy. The trance was broken, and cheesy smiles crept across their faces when they realized they were getting a little too caught up in the moment. What can we say, Doc? We're passionate about what we do. Squinting her eyes, Sophie tried to make sense of her great-aunt's cursive on a faded recipe card she's had for years now. The kitchen was a mess, with greens, peas, ribs, and cornmeal for the cornbread, giving her a hard time like it had an attitude. Okay, Sophie, you got this? Rolling up the sleeves of her button-down shirt. It's just cornbread. How hard can it be? She measured out the cornmeal, or at least she thought she did. The recipe called for a cup, but their measuring cups were nowhere to be found. Improvising, she grabbed a coffee mug and filled it to the brim. Close enough, right? As she mixed the batter, her mind wandered to her sister's impending visit. She hoped the crazy story Ryan had put together about how they got together and eventually married would be something Jordan wouldn't question too much. Now that she and Ryan were doing this relationship marriage thing for real, hopefully, they'd be able to convince her sister. Jordan hadn't been overly skeptical when Sophie first told her about Ryan, much to her surprise. If anything, she seemed genuinely happy that her big sister had found love, and, in her words, was finally getting some. Lost in thought, she didn't notice the smoke swelling from the oven until the loud beep of the smoke alarm brought her back to reality. Shit, shit, shit! She grabbed the oven mitts and yanked open the oven door, coughing as black smoke swallowed her face. Soph? Baby? What's going on? Ryan ran into the kitchen. Is everything okay? I smelled smoke. Her voice trailed off as she took in the scene before her. Sophie, hair disheveled and face smudged with soot, holding what appeared to be a blackened brick. I was trying to make cornbread, something my aunt used to make for Jordan and me, but I think I messed up the measurements. Oh, Soph, Ryan said, taking the burnt cornbread from Sophie's hands and setting it aside. You don't have to stress yourself out like this. Jordan's your sister. She's gonna love whatever you make, even if it's a little crispy around the edges. I know. It's just, Jordan hasn't been to Gotham in years, and I want to give her a taste of home, you know. Sophie leaned against the counter. Plus, I don't want her asking too many questions about us. I mean, we're still figuring this thing out ourselves, and I don't need my little sister playing relationship detective. Ryan stepped closer to Sophie and wrapped her arms around her waist. Hey, we've got this. We'll just stick to the story we practiced, met at a bar, fell in love over our shared passion for, what was it again? Gangster rap music? Sophie half laughed and gave a mock punch to Ryan's arm. You're ridiculous. We said we have a shared passion for gardening? Right. Because you have lifted several fingers in our backyard. Excuse me. You never let me help you out there. Plus, I enjoy just watching you. And I gotta make sure no creepy crawlers get on your precious plants. Chuckling, Ryan leaned forward, leaving a brief kiss on her lips. My hero. But seriously, Soph, don't worry so much. Jordan's going to love me. I mean, who wouldn't? I'm charming, hilarious, and I'm the cook in this relationship. You should have called on me in the first place. Oh, so you think you can handle my family's soul food recipes, huh? Care to put your skills to the test, Wilder? Challenge accepted, wifey. What do you need me to do? Sophie tossed Ryan an apron and pointed to a pile of onions on the counter. You can start by chopping those onions, and make sure you dice them finely. We don't want any big chunks in the collard greens. Yes, sexy chef. 1 order of finely diced onions, coming right up. As Ryan began to chop, Sophie hovered over her shoulder, frowning. No, no, no. You're doing it all wrong. You need to slice the onion in half lengthwise first, then peel off the skin and make horizontal cuts before dicing. I'm sorry, I must have missed the part where burning cornbread qualified you to critique my onion chopping skills. But by all means, Gordon Ramsay, show me how it's done. Just as Ryan paused, looking up at Sophie with a playful smile, the security system chimed, alerting them to a visitor at the front door. Oh my God, she's here. Do I look okay? Is the house clean enough? Maybe I should have dusted more and shined the floors. Unable to hold back a genuine laugh, Ryan washed her hands, then pulled up the video feed on her phone and revealed a short, dark-skinned woman standing outside, peeking curiously at the camera. Relax, babe. You look good. The house is spotless, and Jordan's going to love everything. Taking a deep breath and smoothing down her apron, Sophie gave Ryan a grateful kiss on her lips. You're right. Okay, let's do this. Opening the door, Sophie watched as Jordan walked in. Eyes grew wide, her jaw dropping as she took in the luxurious brownstone. Damn, sis, you've been holding out on me. This place is like a fortress. I counted at least 3 security cameras on my way in. Can't be too careful these days, or especially with all the weirdos out there, Sophie laughed, pulling her baby sister into a tight hug. Before Jordan could respond, Ryan emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Nah, just protecting her precious vinyl collection. Some of those records are irreplaceable. Ryan's presence made Jordan do a double take, her eyes shamelessly scanning her from head to toe. Sis, your wife is hot. No wonder you've been keeping her all to yourself. Sophie blushed, but she couldn't help the proud smile that spread across her face. Jordan, meet Ryan Wilder, my wife, and Ryan, meet Jordan Moore, my little sister. Ryan's smile lit up the foyer as she welcomed Jordan with open arms, bringing her in close. It's so great to finally meet you. Sophie talks about you all the time. All good things, I hope. But I bet she's been driving you crazy with her obsessive organization, hasn't she? Oh, you mean her color-coded closet and alphabetized bookshelf? I almost threw everything on the floor for shits and giggles the other day, but held back. But it's adorable, really. Jordan cackled, giving Ryan a high five. Oh, I like her, Soph. She's a keeper. I'll have both of you know that being organized is a valuable life skill. Yeah, if you're running a military base, sis. You ain't in the military no more? I once suggested we play a game where we take a shot every time she straightens a picture frame or grabs a duster, Ryan said, smiling smugly. We would have been drunk within the first 10 minutes. Jordan was hollering, bent over like a pretzel from laughing. Nah, but for real though, that's a genius game. We definitely should make that a thing, Soph. It'll be like a fun family bonding activity. You two are not funny. Just remember, when you're looking for the TV remote or your favorite flannel shirt, don't come crying to me, dear. Ryan and Jordan just laughed harder, leaning on each other for support. Sophie rolled her eyes, but she couldn't hide her smile. Seeing her sister and her wife getting along so effortlessly was a dream come true, and she felt the last of her nervousness melt away. All right, you two. Enough ganging up on me. She led them through the living room into the kitchen. Jordan, drop your bags by the closet. We've got a feast to prepare, and I need all hands on deck. Jordan stopped and saw the large fish tank in the living room. Is that Oscar? Yep. That's my boy. He's gotten so big since the last time you saw him. Does she still talk to him like he's her child? Jordan asked, looking towards Ryan. Oh, absolutely. I've caught her singing Snoop Dogg lyrics to him when she thinks no one's listening. But babe, I thought you loved when I sang to our son. Ryan threw Jordan a look that screamed, "Help me!" which set them both off on another giggle fit. Sophie wasn't even going to try to argue with these two clowns that she adored anymore. She just waved the white flag and kept it moving. Later, they dug into the meal and enjoyed the remade, fluffy cornbread, courteous of Jordan. So, spill the tea, sis. How's married life treating you? Sophie glanced at Ryan, who was enthusiastically dousing her greens in hot sauce. She couldn't resist shaking her head and smiling devotedly at the woman who had snatched her heart. It's been a wild, unexpected ride, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I still can't believe you're married, sis. Jordan shook her head in disbelief. I thought you were gonna just chuck up the deuces and be single forever, especially after that last girl. What was her name? Riley? Yeah, she was something else. Riley? Ryan's head snapped up from her plate. I haven't heard about her before. Do tell. She was nothing. Sophie waved her hand dismissively. Just a quick fling that went nowhere. Quick fling my ass. You were hung up on her for months, Soph. But I gotta say, Ryan here is a major upgrade. Good job, 'cause your ass could be picky as hell. So why did you pick me then? Tilting her head to the side, Ryan gave Sophie her full focus. I'm all ears, baby. Sophie glanced at Jordan, then back at Ryan. She knew their relationship had been set up by Black Bat, but that was a secret she had to keep from her sister. I don't think I did. Pick her, that is. The world picked her for me. Ryan wondered where Sophie was headed. Do you believe in destiny? Sophie continued. Like things are meant to happen? Jordan shook her head. Yes. I think that's what happened with Ryan and me. I always wanted someone with whom I could be my full, authentic self. Someone I could love unapologetically. Someone who made me a better version of myself. When I met Ryan that night at the bar, after the whole drink fiasco, I just knew she was it for me. I had to lock her down before someone else did, and you know I don't like the fanfare, so we just married low-key. To say Ryan was smitten would be an understatement. Her eyes were full of love as she looked at Sophie from across the table and locked their hands together. And I'm so glad you did. There's no one else out there for me. Jordan looked between the two of them and groaned. Y'all are so cute, it's disgusting. Anyways, what about work? How's the private security biz? And Ryan, didn't you say you were some hotshot IT guru? They locked eyes, a silent conversation passing between them about the cover story they'd carefully crafted for their friends and family. In their minds, they laughed at the range of personas they had to maintain. From butchers and meat plant owners to their previous jobs before their paths crossed, and, most importantly, spy agents. Keeping track of all these stories sometimes was a challenge, but it was a necessary part of their lives. Sophie took a sip of her drink before responding. Private security has been good, paying better than before due to some new clients. I'm learning to anticipate potential threats and come up with creative solutions. And in the IT world, it's all about innovation. I'm working with some brilliant minds to develop technologies that could revolutionize the industry. Jordan took another bite of her food. So Mom still doesn't know about your new wife or where you're staying now? What am I supposed to say, Jorah? Sophie's shoulders sagged slightly. You know how she's been since I came out. It's like I don't even exist to her anymore. She pushed her food around, her appetite suddenly gone. I've tried for years, you know. I've reached out and attempted to include her in my life, but she can't accept me for who I am. She won't even pick up the phone when I call, but she sure as hell accepts the money I wire into her account every month. It's like I'm good enough to be her ATM, but not her daughter. Jordan reached over, putting a sympathetic hand on her sister's wrist. I know, Soph. She's always been set in her ways, but you can't let her ignorance dim your light. That's on her, not you. I just wish she could see how happy I am. But every time I try to talk to her, it's like hitting the same brick wall. Struggling to hold back the tears welling in her eyes, Sophie shook her head in a dejected manner. Ryan, who had been listening quietly, scooted her chair closer to Sophie's and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. I'm so sorry, baby. I know how much this hurts you and how long you've been dealing with it. But we've got each other, and you've got the love and support of the people who truly matter. Your mom may not be ready to accept you. She never may. But that doesn't change how amazing you are. When their eyes met, Sophie got lost in the rich, melted chocolate deepness of Ryan's caring eyes, a look that spoke volumes about the realness between them. At that moment, she felt an overwhelming desire to pour her heart out to this phenomenal woman who had become her rock, her safe haven. Ryan's loyal support and understanding made Sophie want to give her everything, to hold nothing back. So instead of speaking the words that danced on the tip of her tongue, she leaned in and passionately kissed Ryan, pouring all her affection and gratitude into it. Hello, I'm still here, you know. Jordan playfully shoved her sister and new sister-in-law. The deep peace of the early morning was abruptly shattered by the insistent chiming of the black bat communicators. Startling Ryan and Sophie awake from their sleep, they untangled themselves, bodies woven, as the fog of sleep slowly lifted from their minds. Sophie reached for her device, squinting at the mission brief. A sensitive package needed retrieval from a dead drop, but a rival spy lurked nearby. Damn it, she groaned, swinging her legs over the edge of the bed, toes searching for her slippers. Jordan's here. I can't just bail on her. Ryan propped herself up on one elbow, her hair an adorable mess. Babe, relax. I've got the hosting covered. You focus on the mission, and I'll keep your sister entertained and bribe her for your embarrassing childhood stories. A pillow went flying towards her wife, and even as Sophie let out a burst of dry laughter, she couldn't hold back. You wouldn't dare? Oh, I won't. Ryan caught the pillow and hugged it to her chest. I seem to recall a certain incident involving roller skates, hot fudge, and a very unfortunate pair of pants. Ryan, I told you that in confidence, and you swore to never bring it up again? Oops, must have slipped my mind. But seriously, Soph, I've got this. Jordan and I will be fine. You just focus on kicking some spy ass and getting back here in one piece. Duty was calling, but her responsible side knew she had to handle her business. You sure you don't mind? I don't want to burden you with all the hosting duties. Please, it'll be a blast, Ryan assured her, hopping out of bed with an energy that Sophie envied. Now go get ready while I go make your coffee and breakfast. Can't have you saving the world on an empty stomach. Shaking her head, Sophie smiled and headed for the shower. The steam caressed her skin, providing a refreshing wake-up call to start her day. As she stepped out, wrapping herself in a fluffy towel, she caught sight of Ryan leaning against the doorframe, a look of lust on her face. Ryan's eyes roamed over Sophie's dripping, melanin-rich body. Have I ever told you how incredibly sexy you are? Babe, don't start. I need to get dressed. I know. Ryan sighed but made no move to leave. Instead, she stepped closer, her fingers trailing along Sophie's collarbone. But you can't blame a girl for looking, can you? Sophie's breath stuttered as Ryan's lips journeyed across her neck, scattering open mouth kisses on every inch of her skin. Her resolve faltered, the mission's details temporarily forgotten as she surrendered to her wife's touch. Ryan. Ryan hummed against her skin, her hands slipping beneath the towel. Then Sophie's phone alarm went off from the sink, bringing them back to reality. Shit, I need to go. She silenced the alarm, giving Ryan an apologetic look. Rain check? Ryan protruded that pouty lip, the one Sophie couldn't resist. Sophie leaned in, drawing the plump bottom lip into her mouth. Ryan gave her a playful pat on the ass, acknowledging their tendency to get carried away once more. Go be a badass. I'll hold down the fort here. With an appreciative smile, Sophie quickly finished getting dressed and grabbed her gear. She peeked into the guest room, relieved to see Jordan still sleeping soundly. As she hurried towards the front door, she spotted a thoughtfully prepared care package from Ryan, a thermos of her favorite blend of coffee, and a bacon breakfast wrap. She was amazed at how Ryan always managed to make her feel cherished and cared for, no matter what. The early morning in Gotham was full of activity as Sophie stepped onto the bike path, her black jacket camouflaging her among the throng of runners. Aviators concealed her eyes, but behind the dark lenses, her gaze darted, calculating. She mentally marked the exits, the secluded spots, the places where danger could be hiding, ready to strike. Joggers ran past, earbuds in, lost in their own worlds. A woman on rollerblades entwined through the crowd, her laughter trailing behind her. Nearby, a man tossed a frisbee, his dog bounding after it with uncontrolled enthusiasm. Sophie moved through them all, as a shadow hiding in plain sight. Her target stuck out like a sore thumb. Designer Armani suit, crisp newspaper, expensive Patek Philippe watch. He was playing it casually, but she knew better. She'd boogied with his kind before. Silent steps on the dewy grass gave away her approach, yet he was too focused on his paper, oblivious to the threat slipping closer. She almost felt bad for the man. Almost. Checking his watch again, his foot tapped impatiently, waiting on the drop, no doubt. She smiled. Not on her watch. Ryan pulled her black Jeep into the crowded parking lot of Eli's Diner, a neighborhood hotspot known for its breakfast menu. She glanced over at Jordan in the passenger seat. Ready for some grub? You know it. Sophie's always raving about this place. I'm still surprised she moved to this bougie neighborhood. They stepped out of the car and made their way towards the entrance, instantly smelling the fried bacon and maple syrup in the air, along with the lively chatter. The hostess, a bubbly ginger with a pixie cut, and a name tag that read Cindy, greeted them with a sorry smile. Hey there, just a heads up. We've got about a 25-minute wait for a table. Is that okay with y'all? No worries. We can hang out for a bit. Right, Jor. Yeah, all good. It'll be worth the wait. They found a spot near the entrance to wait, and Ryan turned to Jordan. So tell me, what do you like to do for fun when you're not busy being a boss in Central City? Sophie has told me about the work you're doing in the community out there. Yeah, I'm all about giving back to the community. I run this dope youth program, helping kids stay on the right path and off the streets. Wow, that's incredible. I wish I had something like growing up. How'd you get into it? It's just something I've always been drawn to. Plus, it's where I met my boyfriend, Dante. He's been volunteering there for years, teaching music to the kids. We just clicked right away. That was 5 years ago, and we've been going strong ever since. They continued chatting and getting to know each other, and Jordan noticed how easy it was to talk to Ryan. Her natural charm and wit seemed to put her at ease, and soon they were laughing and joking like old friends. Oh, that reminds me of our honeymoon in Mexico, Ryan said. We were at this nice beachside bar, right? And the bartender was straight up macking on me. Shut up. What did Soph do? You know your sister. At first, she was trying her best to keep her cool, you know? But I knew she was getting more and more heated by the second. I can just see her now, with that look she gets. Exactly. So anyway, this bartender chick, she's laying it on thick, hooking me up with free drinks and all that jazz. And finally, Sophie just can't take it anymore. She storms over to the bar, looks the bartender dead in the eye, and goes, "Hey, that's my wife you're hitting on. Back the fuck off before I shoot you." "No way, she did not," Jordan said, laughing and thinking, "No, this absolutely sounds like my sister." "Swear to God," Ryan confirmed, joining in the laughter. And then, check this. She grabs me by the hand, yanks me close, and lays this big, extra wet kiss on me right in front of everybody. Damn. Did they call the cops because of the threat? Nope. We left right after and went back to our hotel. I was halfway embarrassed and halfway turned on that she would torture someone for giving me free drinks. But that's my boo. She might seem all hard and serious, but she's got a jealous streak wider than the damn equator. It's so obvious how much you two love each other. I'm just so happy Sophie found someone who gets her, crazy ass and all. That means a lot for you to say that, Jordan. Thank you. I want to do right by your sister. They fell into a comfortable silence, with only the sounds of the busy diner. Ryan glanced at her watch, then back at the hostess stand, where Cindy was still bustling about, seating other parties. "How long's it been now?" Jordan checked her phone. "About half an hour. I'm starving." Ryan sighed, leaning back against the wall. "Same, girl. Same. But hey, at least the company's good, right?" "The best." Jordan gave her a light shoulder bump. A jogger swept past the spy, the package disappearing into his jacket pocket in the blink of an eye. Sophie sprang into action, her legs pumping, closing the gap with impressive speed. The spy's head snapped around, eyes wide as he clocked her, and noticed he'd been made. He bolted, kicking up dirt to make his escape. Sophie tore after him, jumping over a bench, sneakers barely touching down before she was airborne again. The spy veered into a secluded grove, but she was on him in a flash. She had him pinned, gun leveled at his chest, the cool metal an extension of her arm. "Hand it over." The spy's eyes shifted left to right, but there was nowhere to run. Sophie's finger hovered over the trigger with a silent promise. Checkmate. Ryan and Jordan have been waiting for a table at the diner for over an hour now. What started out as patient wait has now turned into an agitated irritation. Suddenly, the diner plunged into chaos. The computer's POS system crashed, leaving the staff floundering and the customers growing restless. Peeping on what was going on, Ryan approached the weary manager. "I might be able to help with that." She pointed to the frozen screens. "Mind if I take a look?" The manager, desperate for a solution, waved her behind the counter. Jordan watched, eyebrows lifted, as her sister-in-law confidently navigated the technical crisis. As Ryan delved deeper into the system, she noticed something odd. This wasn't a random glitch. Someone was actively trying to access the diner's network. Based on the sloppy code, it looked like the culprits were close by. She peeked out the window and spotted the restaurant next door. Of course, probably some half-baked scheme to poach customers or snoop on the competition. Well, two could play at that game. She quickly coded a counterattack and left a little message for the amateurs hackers. "Fuck off." That ought to do it. "How's it going back there?" Jordan called out, naive to the digital battle that had just taken place. "We're one step closer to pancakes." Ryan hit the final key with a flick of her wrist, and the screens came alive. The whole diner turned into a party, with cheers bouncing off the walls from the crew and the patrons. The manager didn't need to know the details. As far as they were concerned, she'd just performed a miracle. She gave her hands a little dust-off. Just another day at the office. The grateful manager offered them a complimentary appreciative meal, and as they finally sat down to eat, Jordan shook her head in wonder. Okay, I'm officially impressed. Is there anything you can't do? Well, actually, yes. I've been thinking about getting another fish to keep Oscar company. You know, a little brother for him to swim around with. But Sophie is convinced that Oscar will feel neglected and thinks she doesn't love him as much anymore. So I don't know how to convince my wife that that's not the case. I personally don't think Oscar is going to develop some sort of complex over sharing his tank, but try telling that to her. With a snort, Jordan shook her head, clearly finding it hard to believe what she was hearing. Let me get this straight. You two are having a marital dispute over a fish. This is the most adorable and ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Y'all are a match made in strange heaven. The spy's eyes flitted between Sophie and the package, desperate. In a last-ditch effort, he spun on his heel, knocked her gun to the ground, and darted, clutching the package like a salvation. Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me, she growled, launching herself after him. She spotted her chance, a teenager on a bike, obliviously pedaling into the spy's path. With a halfway apology, she rushed forward, yanking the bike out from under the confused teen. Sorry, kid, she called over her shoulder as she pedaled away. Hey, that old lady just stole my bike. Sophie's eye twitched. Old lady? She nearly lost her balance. She was only 33 for crying out loud. She'd straighten out that little punk's messed up view on age later. Right now, she had a dirty spy to catch, pedaling like a woman possessed. She closed in on her target, again. Cycling over a hill, she landed right in front of him. End of the line, she panted, aiming the stolen bike at him. Hand it over, or I'll run you down. The spy made a desperate grab for his gun, but Sophie was faster. Her hand shot out, gripping his wrist in a bone-crushing hold, her thumb pressing ruthlessly against a pressure point. He let out a cry of pain, the gun clattering to the ground. She kicked it away, never loosening her hold. The package, now, this job was riding her hard, the hunger in her soul, that fire to get it done and prove herself to Blackbat that she could knock out a last-minute mission. Tears streaming down his face from the pain, the spy fumbled for the package with his free hand and held it out, his eyes screaming for mercy. She snatched it up with her free hand, smirking. About damn time. She tucked it into her jacket, never taking her eyes off him. In one swift move, she grabbed him by the collar, hauling him up until they were nose to nose. Listen up, jackass. I don't have time to wait around for an extraction team, so you're coming with me. He started to protest, but her look over her aviators silenced him. Don't even think about it. I've had enough delays for one day. She shoved him away, leaving him stumbling. Well, what are you waiting for? An engraved invitation? She nodded at the handlebars. You're driving, and if you try anything funny, I'll make sure you end up eating through a straw for the rest of your life. His throat went dry, but he wasn't stupid. He mounted up, throwing a salty look her way while she kicked the stand up. Sophie swung her leg over the bike, settling in behind the spy. She wrapped one arm around his waist, the other hand still gripping the package. With a kick, he sent the bike forward, and the two of them balanced as they cruised the park's trails. She leaned back, casually gripping the package on as they swarmed through the park, the picture of smug pleasure. No extraction team, no backup, no problem. Sophie Wilder didn't need any of that. She had a stolen bike, a captured spy, and another successful mission under her belt. Just another 24 hours in the life of this no-joke boss-level secret agent. Bellies full from brunch, Ryan tugged Jordan towards the backyard. Come on, there's something I want to show you. You got to see this garden. It's like our own little slice of paradise. The backyard was a mutiny of color and life, an antithesis to the gritty city streets they'd just left behind. Ryan practically skipped between the raised beds, her hands brushing over the plants. Welcome to Casa de Wilder's garden special. Your sister thought I was crazy when I started this project. But look at it now. We've got tomatoes, peppers, herbs. I even managed to keep the basil alive. She gestured, plucking a sprig of basil. Sophie loves using these when we cook. Impressed by the flourishing garden, Jordan admired Ryan's green thumb. As they strolled through the rows, Ryan presented her vast botanical expertise. Not bad for a city girl, huh? Not bad at all. I didn't know you were Martha Stewart. Fun fact, my mama Cora's the reason I got into gardening. Ryan popped a ripe cherry tomato into her mouth. She always had a little plot going, even when we were living in that tiny-ass apartment. Her smile turned nostalgic. Course, our asshole neighbors let their dog run wild, trampling everything. But Mama, she never let it get her down, just started over, twice as determined. With a caring touch, Jordan placed her hand on Ryan's arm. Sophie mentioned about your mom passing. I'm so sorry, Rye. Lost her right before I finished college. Cancer's a bitch like that. Fuck, Rye. I can't even imagine. She'd be so proud of you, you know. Look at everything you've accomplished. The life you've built. Ryan wondered if Cora would be proud if she'd approved of the paths she had taken, though the paths less traveled. She for sure had some bumps in the road. Would she be happy now? She had sometimes struggled with self-belief, a result of being bounced around the foster system, and the betrayal she faced from her ex. Even now, with Sophie and Black Bat, Ryan sometimes found herself waiting for the other shoe to drop, for something to come along and ruin the happiness and success she had built. Sensing her emotions threatening to spill over, Jordan changed the subject. Well, we all know Sophie didn't inherit a gardening gene. I remember when she killed a cactus plant I gave her. In record time. Ryan let out a hearty chuckle, cutting through the previous stress. Oh, I know. My baby's many things, but a green thumb isn't one of them. Her eyebrows moved comically. But that's okay. She's got other talents with her hands, if you know what I mean. Ew, gross. I don't need the details on what my sister does with her hands. Thanks. Ryan was mid-laugh when she noticed a glimpse of blonde bangs bobbing behind the wooden fence. She smiled, excusing herself, and walked over to the gate. Alice, are you spying on us again? Moy, spying? Never. I was just out for a stroll and heard the sweet tones of your laughter. Uh-huh, sure, Ryan snorted. Well, since you're here, you might as well come in and meet Jordan. She unlatched the gate, revealing Alice in all her colorful glory. Jordan took in the bold lipstick, the weird shirt, and the air of shenanigans surrounding their neighbor. Jordan, meet Alice. She lives next door and has a habit of popping up at the most interesting times. And Alice, this is Sophie's sister. Enchantee, darling. Any sister of Sophie's is a friend of mine. Ryan led the way to a secluded corner of the garden, where a few unassuming plants were. Prepare yourselves, ladies. You're about to witness my crown jewels. Jordan looked closer. Holy shit, Rye. Are you seriously growing pot back here? You know it. But this isn't just any oldie amid. This is the result of some serious TLC and mad scientist-level experimentation. I started with a classic OG Kush strain, but I've been crossbreeding it with this crazy indigenous sativa I managed to get my hands on. This here's Acapulco Gold, straight out of Mexico. Shit's so pretty, it's like a damn nugget. All gold and green and frosty as hell. And the high? It's like a 5-star dinner for your brain. Energizing, uplifting, get you going like a shot of espresso. And the smell. She leaned in, inhaling deeply. Burnt toffee, caramel, pure heaven. This strain's a legend for a reason. Ryan began to wax poetic about the intricacies of cannabis horticulture, her hands waving wildly. The key is in the nutrient balance and light exposure. Too much nitrogen, and you end up with a hard smoke. But get the ratio just right. And oh man, it's like taking a hit of heaven. Alice clapped her hands in delight. You're like a full-on weed scientist. It's really sexy. My last attempt at growing was an absolute disaster. Ryan reached into her pocket, pulling out a small tin. Now, who wants to help me test out this batch? I need some honest feedback. They settled into the comfy deck chairs, the sun warm on their skin. Ryan lit the joint, taking a deep pull before passing it to Alice. The blonde coughed roughly, her eyes watering. Sweet baby Jesus, what did you put in this thing? Patting Alice's back, Ryan snickered. Easy there, Blondie. This isn't your grandma's loud. As the joint made its way around, the women relaxed, the conversation flowing as easily as the smoke. Jordan took a long drag, holding it in before exhaling slowly. Okay, I gotta hand it to you, Rye. This is some next-level shit. Told ya, I don't mess around. Does my uptight sister know about your little ganja hobby? Snorting. Ryan took another hit. Please, who do you think helps me test the product? My wife's my #1 quality control expert. No fucking way. Sophie? Miss Straight-Laced? Oh my God, I can't breathe. Jordan's initial laughter evolved into full-blown cackles. As the giggles calmed, Alice shifted closer. Her inhibitions lowered. She draped herself across Ryan's lap. You know, I've always found your intelligence to be incredibly hot. She purred, her eyes hooded. Sophie is one lucky woman, I tell you. Meanwhile, Jordan observed the flirtatious touches and glances Alice sent towards Ryan. The latter, however, seemed oblivious. Her attention focused on serving the group with tales of her and Sophie's adventures in weed growing. And then, she had the brilliant idea to use the hydronic system for. Shaking her head, tickled by her sister-in-law's single-minded enthusiasm, Jordan leaned back, letting the warm buzz flow through her veins, content to bask in the easy camaraderie and the animated storytelling. Later, as the munchies set in, Ryan's stomach grumbled loudly. She was suddenly starving, even though they had just returned from brunch not too long ago. She pulled out her phone and sent an emergency text. Ryan, SOS, bring pizza, baby, and lots of it. If it isn't Black Bat's very own badass on a bicycle, Ocean chuckled, taking in the unusual sight. Grinning, Sophie tossed him the secured package. You know how it is? Sometimes you have to go unconventional. She jerked her thumb at the scowling spy. Pretty boy here tried to make things difficult. Figured I'd save time and bring the package straight to you. You're lucky she didn't put you through a wall, pal. Ocean then nodded at Sophie. Nicely handled, as always. Yeah, well, I would have been home sooner if Mr. Stubborn Pants over there had cooperated and pedaled faster. Her phone vibrated, and she checked the message with a smile. It was from Ryan. Don't tell me the wife's getting restless. You know how it is. Yeah, I do. How's married life treating you lately anyway? Ocean asked. Honestly, it's been a blast, Sophie said. I really didn't think I'd enjoy it this much, but Ryan makes everything better and more enjoyable. The spy scoffed. You two are seriously going to act like I'm not right here. In 1.4 seconds, Sophie had him pinned against the bike, her forearm across his throat. She leaned in until they were nearly nose to nose. Look here, asshole. This is it for you. This is the end. So enjoy your last few minutes of sunlight before you're rotting in a cell in some random country. The spy's expression went from cocky to shook in a split second when he realized Sophie wasn't playing. She released her grip, throwing him a look that said, Don't get it twisted. I'm not the one. She turned back to Ocean. I should get going and enjoy the rest of my Saturday. Don't work too hard. Ryan mentioned your wife, Erica, retired after the twins. Yep. Black Bat moved me to solo work after that. Then they brought in Julia from overseas to help me mentor the new recruits sometimes. Well, tell the family I said hi. And thanks for the assist today. Sophie checked her phone again and grinned. Looks like I have to stop for food. She watched Ocean escort the spy inside and assessed her next move. Spotting an unattended bicycle, she climbed on it without hesitation and cycled off to Joe's Pizza. She figured grabbing a cab from there would be a sensible way to head home afterward. Sophie opened the backyard screen doors, the pizza boxes warm in her hands. The sight that greeted her stopped her in her tracks. There, stretched on the grass, looking like they were in a light nap, were her wife, sister, and their oddball neighbor. Go home, Alice, Sophie grumbled, the fatigue from that day's mission turning into annoyance at the unwelcome guest's presence. She nudged the blonde with her foot to get her to move, but Alice, in her typical fashion, remained unperturbed by the rudeness. But I want pizza too. She eyed the boxes. Too tired to argue, Sophie rolled her eyes and thrust a slice into her waiting hands. Here, now beat it. She practically shooed the woman out of the backyard like an unwanted stray. As Alice skipped away, happily munching on her prize, Sophie turned to face her sister and wife. She shook her head. Seriously, you two? I leave for a couple of hours and you're both stoned out of your minds? Ryan, her eyes opened and a loopy grin appeared across her face. She stretched out her arms towards Sophie. Honey, you're back. And you brought pizza. Her words, slightly slurred, were filled with an innocent excitement that, despite herself, earned a smile from Sophie. Jordan simultaneously was trying and failing to sit up. Best sister-in-law ever? Sophie wanted to maintain her rigid front, to chastise them for their irresponsible behavior. But as she watched them, so carefree and happy, she felt her annoyance begin to melt away. With a sigh of resignation, she plopped down on the grass beside them, setting the pizza boxes and water down within easy reach. You're lucky I tolerate you both, she complained, but there was no real heat behind her words. She grabbed a slice of sausage pizza and held it out to Ryan's awaiting mouth. Sophie watched, mesmerized, as Ryan lapped up the dangling cheese, her tongue darting out to catch the stringy strands. The sight of her lips glistening with grease. Sophie couldn't tear her eyes away from the hypnotic movement of her wife's mouth. Jordan, noticing her state, nudged her shoulder. Close your mouth before a bee flies in it. Snapping back to the real world, Sophie gave Jordan that side eye that could cut through steel. In a petty act of retaliation, she pulled the pizza boxes closer to her and away from her irksome sister. It was a childish move, but at the moment, it felt like the only way to regain some control. But Ryan, unaware of the staring yet observant of Jordan's lack of eating, reached over to offer her a slice. In response, she childishly stuck her tongue out at Sophie, taunting her sister. Jordan, halfway through a slice of pizza, abruptly stood up. I gotta pee like a fucking racehorse, she announced, bits of pizza flying from her mouth. Sophie, grimacing at her sister's crassness, watched as she rushed towards the house. She disappeared no sooner than Ryan curled into Sophie's lap like a content cat. Her arms circled Ryan's waist, holding her securely as the latter burrowed her face into the crook of Sophie's neck. Fingers gently scratched at the nape, finding their way into the soft strands of Sophie's hair. I missed you, Sophie muttered softly against the brown skin. Thank you for keeping Jordan entertained. Ryan gently tilted Sophie's face up to meet her eyes. It's no problem, baby, she whispered, nibbling on her bottom lip. She pulled back for a second to light up another joint, this time for Sophie. They sat there trading smoke between each other's mouths as Sophie tried to catch up to her wife's current state. And they were so lost in each other they didn't hear Jordan return. Jordan stepped out onto the porch, only to be confronted with the sight of Ryan straddling on top of her sister, with her tongue down her throat and Sophie's right hand drifting down to Ryan's ass, kneading through her jeans while her left hand was held high up with a joint. "Not this shit again. And in front of my pizza, too?" She tiptoed over, snagging a pizza box. Sophie peeked with one eye open, catching her moving around them. Jordan just shook her head, mumbling, "Don't mind me. Y'all continue," before slipping back inside, leaving the two lovebirds in their own little world. Ryan and Sophie remained lounged in the backyard, both clearly under the influence of the homegrown strain. She sprawled across Ryan's lap, giggling intermittently at nothing in particular. Ryan's fingers ran through her hair, with a lopsided grin on her face. "Babe, I can't feel my face, like at all. Is it still there?" Sophie reached up and patted her cheek clumsily. "Yep, still there, and still cute as hell. Even when you're higher than a kite." "You think I'm cute? That's so gay, Sofa." "We're married, fool. Of course I think you're cute. I mean, but you're cute too. Like the cutest. Cute as fuck. Like cuter than a bowl of kittens. Or a baby panda." "Or a baby panda holding a bowl of kittens." Ryan poked Sophie's nose. "That doesn't even make sense, Rye. How can pandas hold bowls? Your face doesn't make sense." "Rude. Take that back or I'm divorcing you." Ryan pouted, pulling her closer. "No, don't divorce me. I take it back. Your face makes perfect sense. It's like a work of art. A Picasso. But not all weird and abstract." "A Picasso, huh? I'll take it." Sophie smirked, nuzzling into her neck. Ryan sighed contentedly, wrapping her arms around Sophie. "This is nice. Just you and me, chilling in the backyard, high as fuck. We should do this more often." Sophie hummed in agreement, then paused. "Wait, didn't Jordan go inside to pee like an hour ago?" "Oh shit, you're right. You don't think she fell in, do you?" Ryan blinked slowly, trying to remember. "Nah, she probably just got distracted by the food, or the couch, or the general concept of indoor plumbing. I think we have top-notch plumbing. But we should probably go check on her though, right?" "Do we have to? I'm comfy," Sophie groaned, burying her face in Ryan's chest. Me too. Okay, 5 more minutes and we'll go check on her. Sophie? Soph, did you hear me?" Looking down, Ryan caught Sophie catching some Z's, her face buried in the valley of her boobs. She looked like she was in heaven, and Ryan couldn't deny it. She was too.